On today's episode, we welcome DeVante Pickering, founder of Pick2 Solutions. DeVante, welcome.
Thanks, man. Thanks for having me. Happy to be here.
There you go. So, can you walk us through your background and maybe why you start the business on your side?
Yeah, man. So for me, personally, I was born and raised on St. Croix, U.S. Virgin Islands, which is in the Caribbean. Spent the first 17 years of my life there. Then I moved to North Carolina to go to the University of North Carolina at Wilmington to study computer science.
Hmm.
Which was my second dream in life. I originally wanted to be a pilot, but there comes a point where like you either go to the military or you pay like 60 grand a year. Neither of those felt like what I wanted to do. So like computers seem fun. So I
Hmm.
went to move to North Carolina. I liked UNCW, it was cool. But the best thing that happened to me while I was there was that I got plugged into it's called like the Center for Innovation and Entrepreneurship, which was a
Hmm.
program that the school had where if you were faculty or if you were a student and you had a good enough business idea, they
Hmm.
would fund that idea and give you a place to work out. So I got hooked up with Dr. Deborah Powell at she was a pretty high teacher up in the education department, and she had kind of a prototype of an app called Unispire, specifically the Universal Writing Continuum. And she had been doing all this work, and like the whole idea was how to help teachers evaluate kids writing better. So she had
Hmm.
like a little product of an app. She really needs someone to rewrite it. So my sophomore year, I got hooked up with her. I rewrote the app. We hired a couple more people, and then by my junior year, we'd sold it to a school district in New Hampshire.
Hmm.
So we had users. It was a good opportunity to get out of the classroom and
Yeah.
get from like drawing circles to like building actual software.
Nice.
Um, did that, graduated there, moved to Charlotte, North Carolina, got hired at Wells Fargo as part of their emerging talent program, which is like a little program to put you in front of the C-suite. They give you these special projects, et cetera.
Hmm.
And one of the things when you're in Charlotte that you tend to do is what I call like the finance tour. So over the next few years, I did Wells Fargo, Bearings, which is like Mass Mutual, Ally. So you take all these stops, and just going throughout your career, you start to, for me at least, I started to see a very similar pattern when it came to how software was developed and delivered, which is things were moving towards the cloud more.
Yeah.
And when I was at that startup, I got introduced to a lot of the cloud concepts because deploying something to like a server didn't it just didn't feel right. I didn't know if it was right or wrong, but it didn't feel right.
Yeah.
So we're like, what's this Azure thing? And then you get into like what's Azure DevOps and so on and so forth. And
Hmm.
so, you fast forward to, 10 years later in my career, I'm like, oh man, everything's going to the cloud.
Hmm.
But time and time again, when I'm on these teams, I feel like I'm the only one that knows anything about the cloud and how to deliver to the cloud. So I kept getting all of these cloud and DevOps related projects, right?
Hmm.
And, at some point, the little entrepreneur bug goes off. Is like, I wonder if more people have this problem. And so, it's easy to start a company. It's like, all right, and just sign up, just start
Yeah.
an LLC. And eventually we got one client is like a side hustle type of thing.
Yeah.
And earlier last year, when I was talking to my wife and we're praying, we're like, I think, we really want to, go in all in on this. And so we
Hmm.
got another opportunity to do that. And then we went all in. And so last year was our first full year.
Nice.
Brought on contractors to help out. And the whole goal is, helping people build cloud native software,
Hmm.
set up, the cloud with well-architected framework practices and leverage automation like infrastructure as code so
Yes.
that we can kind of like democratize, and we'll talk more about this, like democratize the delivery of infrastructure. So like we can let developers do it. We don't just have to let our operations team do it. And that's our whole focus. And so now we have all the AI of things, which is really accelerating people's need to do that.
Yeah.
And so at its core, Pick2 Solutions is a cloud platform and software engineering firm. And
Hmm.
our goal is to democratize the infrastructure process and help developers out.
And why were you so interested into tech? Is there family in tech? Was there what was that interest so much toward tech?
Man, I wish it was like a better answer, but it just felt like this feels like a field that can make some money.
Like it's
Like
fast.
it wasn't,
It is
yeah,
though, so
and I was like, I'm good at computers. It wasn't. I had never written any code before. I mean, MySpace maybe, all right, like
yeah,
making a
yeah.
MySpace, but like I never been like I didn't grow up with like I'm gonna be. Well, actually, I jailbroke iPhones. That counts. I used to have like a little side hustle in school. Like, give me your iPhone, I'll jailbreak it.
Yeah.
So. Yeah, it's like I was good enough at computers. I'll do that.
Hmm. That's good. So it wasn't like a family thing. It wasn't like someone near you that was like in tech that brought you into that. It's just like you were just
Ah,
curious about it. You just went into it.
just curious. I went into it when I declared my freshman year. Like I declared before I even got to school, like I'm gonna do a BS in computer science. And like I had never written a line of code before.
That's nice. So, what's your role right now in the business? I know you're the CEO, but are you like the tech guy? You just mentioned you did got contractors in your business.
Mhm.
You more of like the decision maker, marketing guy, or are you more IT guy? Like, what's your role in the business
I'm
right now?
all the guys. I'm
All the
all
guys.
the guys, right? Like, so, I started this in 2023. And like I said, last year was our first full year. So it's still at its infancy, right?
Yeah.
And so when you're a founder of a company at this stage in the journey, you're doing everything. So like I'm
Yeah.
making business decisions, I'm doing marketing, like figuring out what we're going to write blogs about. I'm
Mm.
doing delivery work. I'm looking at our financials. I'm doing all of it. So I'm all the guy. Sometimes I make a joke when I'm in the office. I'm like, let me call the HR guy in here. And I just change my hat. Oh, HR guy's here.
I'm still here.
He's here.
And I think you talked about that business that you helped, not that business, that project that you helped for the students. Was
Mhm.
that what time was that? What year was it? 2020, 2018?
That's no, I mean, that was 2015.
Okay, a
Yeah.
while back.
That was like
Okay.
10 years ago.
Because
Yeah.
right now, if you think about any school like with AI, it's like so it's like destroyed right now. It's like everyone just cheating with AI, everyone's correcting everything with AI, everyone writing
Yeah.
with AI. So I'm like thinking about that project. I'm like, oof, right now it wouldn't be like a really good project. Doesn't
Yeah, we'd have to build in some like AI detection stuff to be like, okay, you definitely just like punch this in the cloud and like let's flag it.
pretty much. And I think coming back to maybe the trends in the industry, you're into cloud right now. I think
Mhm.
you just mentioned that you learned it like what 10 years ago. Okay, so it's kind
Yeah,
of
yeah.
still new. And
Mhm.
people, do you see that people right now still don't know what the cloud is, even though it's like been there for 10 years?
Yeah, I mean, more often than not, I mean, it's a big part of why this business is a business, right? Because if
Yeah.
everyone knew it, they'd have no need for me. But I've worked with a lot of like really smart engineers, but
Mhm.
I think unless you've been forced to do this, I mean, you'd have to have a lot of curiosity to go figure it out yourself. I think right now, I think again, because of AI and because there's a general fear of being left behind, I think a lot more people are upskilling themselves. But like 3, 4 years ago, man, like I said, every project I was on, I was like one of 3 people that even knew how to get to Azure, let alone like build out entire infrastructures. Like, yeah, there's a lot of people that still just, yeah, they haven't done it.
So before AI came in, was the cloud a subject that people would bring in, or it's really just since AI came in, now people realize like, oh, I want AI, and then they come to whoever like you, and you're like, yeah, man, like you want AI, but you need all this before actually implementing it into your business. So
Yeah.
does AI brought the cloud up as the subjects, or it's just people start to kind of want to know the cloud before AI came in? Oh, that's really weird.
Yeah, I think AI is like the current big driver. I think if you go back 5 to 7 years ago, the term that you would have seen a lot is like digital transformation, digital
Okay.
modernization, which is, and I worked on some of those projects. Like when I was at Barings, that was the big driver of the projects that we were doing there, which is, typically the life cycle of these big enterprises is, early 2000s, they build a bunch of custom software that they
Hmm.
then run for the next 10 to 15 years
Yeah.
until they realize, oh, we can't run this anymore. And then you'll modernize it. So that used to be the driver. And it still is, but I think right now AI is the hot driver, right? Where someone, you have a CTO, CIO type person who's, the CEO of their company calls him up because he was at some golf tournament with another CEO and he's hearing about what this company is doing with AI. He's like, why don't we have that? And so I think how a lot of things are getting started now, just like, you know, yeah, we need this AI. And then you start peeling the layers back and it's like there's some pretty substantial prerequisites to like doing AI well, one of which is like a cloud practice.
And what would be those things that need to be done that you just mentioned for those businesses to implement AI on the cloud side, or
Mhm.
maybe in general side?
Yeah, I mean, I think so. AI is like, if you're familiar with like GIGO, garbage in, garbage out, AI is that at scale, right?
Yeah.
So if you're just going to like Claude or ChatGPT and just asking questions, like that's fine. But if you want to do like real work, especially like business insights type work, you need like a few things. You need a decent to pretty well thought out data strategy, right? Like you need to know where your company's data lives. You need a solid way to inject that context in a large language model. So that's one thing you need. You need, unless you have your own data center and you can like acquire a bunch of NVIDIA chips, you're probably going to be doing a lot of this in the cloud. So you need some sort of cloud practice. You want, some guardrails in place so that you don't blow your budget, so that you have some idea about what the team's building. So you need a cloud practice. And then the third thing that I think you need, which is a big push for us this year, is you need a platform engineering process. And that's all about, being able to actually build these things and deliver them at scale, like be able to build them quickly and safely and in a compliant manner. So I think those three things are like what you need when you start peeling back the layers of how do we build a useful AI strategy that actually delivers some sort of ROI.
And have you seen businesses being able to get that ROI from AI or for those systems that you implement with them? Because
Yeah, I'm starting to see like what I would call production ready use cases. So for example, 2 years ago, we
yeah,
were working on a POC type project around AI. I think we trying to remember which model OpenAI just came out with,
okay.
but it was 3 years ago, so it wasn't great. And we were trying to do this project where we're trying to reformat resumes.
Mm,
People would like submit resumes, and they needed to be in a certain standard um, as part of this business process. And it worked decent, right? But there were a few resumes that would come out and like it completely made up stuff. The format
mm,
was crazy. And if you come from traditional development, before you launch something in production, you want it to be working the same way every single time. And so like having this new technology where like if it even just one time can make something up, it's not really production ready. So that was a couple years ago. I would say last year I started to see um, what I would call production ready use cases. And
mm,
that's a lot of like RAG, a lot of like
yeah.
feeding your data into the LLM and being able to interface with it and ask questions to it. I think
Mm,
that's a really good use case. I think the other thing that I've seen some folks doing is just standing up their own internal AI as a means to make sure that people aren't dumping company secrets,
yeah.
on Claude or on
Mm.
ChatGPT. So those, I think we're starting to figure it out, both from like a business use case standpoint and a architectural standpoint of how we actually build these things. I think it's getting mature.
Have you got experience where that you just mentioned that employee would bring in information into public LLMs basically happen, or that
Yeah.
you heard from like maybe one of your client or someone around you?
Yeah,
You
I mean, it happens. It happens all the time. And
yeah.
I think they call it shadow AI, right? Which is when you circumvent your IT team. And I think the thing is, right, like this is the hottest topic, and you turn on the news, everyone's talking about AI. This whole last year is everybody's job is being replaced by AI. So people want to, figure out how to use this. And
Mhm.
so if your IT team is not blocking it, they're probably going to do it, and they're probably not thinking about hey, I shouldn't. dump this Q3 report on this publicly accessible website that's on the internet. Um, they're just thinking, I need to summarize this report. And not everyone is trained in, cyber compliance and how to guard company data. So
Yeah.
you got to really protect people from themselves.
And it's like such a new technology that people don't really understand like the status of it. It's like, oh, I'm just doing it to help myself and like save time with it.
Right.
But then you have to think about the cybersecurity part of it and everything like public is just to anyone. So it's like, how do you manage that? So what would be the solution that you'd bring to a business that has that with their with their employees?
Yeah. So, I mean, I think these days you have two main approaches, and I think it depends on what your long-term AI goals are. Like if you just want people to be able to use the LLMs as they are to, boost their productivity, you can probably just buy, an enterprise license from ChatGPT, or if you're already integrated with Microsoft, you can
Mhm.
get their Copilot suites,
Yeah.
and that'll serve you well.
Yeah.
If you envision, building proprietary AI workflows and you want to make that, that investment in doing it right and doing it in a way that empowers your company and you start wanting to supercharge your data into the
Mhm.
flow, then I think you should, look into, building a custom internal AI solution.
Okay. And is that a service that you guys bring into offering to businesses that you actually can build all that, or is really just the cloud part of that and then someone else does the AI?
So we kind of play in both arenas. I would say like at the start of this, if you
Mhm.
asked me this 2 years ago, I'd say we just want to do the cloud stuff.
Yeah.
But with the level of abstraction that's being put on a lot of the AI stuff, at this point, it's kind of just regular software development. You have to pay attention to like the latest agentic and the
Yeah.
best practices. So like if we pick up a new project in 26, we could probably take it from 0 to 1.
Hmm.
But our goal is really to identify people that want to do this, but don't have the prerequisites figured out, right? We want to help them figure out the prerequisites. And then if they want us to build the AI, we'll do that. But we can also engage, maybe more career AI folks that if we want to do something really crazy, if we're just doing RAG, then yeah, we'll do
Yeah. And is RAG like secure enough for your data? Is it like a good way to do it, or is there better ways? Like how secure is doing the RAG if on just like an public LLM with like an automatization that you just do it? Is that like secure enough to do it, or you still need like another layout or something to kind of secure all that you're putting into that AI?
Yeah, I mean, I think if you're doing it on any of the public clouds, like you have the tools to be able to do this in a secure way, right? Like you have encryption at rest, you have your RBAC, your access policy, so on and so forth, to ensure that your data is not leaving your perimeter. So yeah,
Mhm.
I think today we've got all the tools to do this in a very secure fashion. We'll see where it goes with some of like the small language model stuff. Like if people can do this, more locally or more on-prem, we'll see where that goes. But yeah, in
Mhm.
either way, we can do this secure.
And when do you think all that technologies might be next year, 2026? Do you think it's gonna just stay where it is from 2025 moving into 2026? Or do you think it's gonna like change a lot for like the cloud? Or what do you think could be like the next couple of things?
If I think it's going to keep changing. I mean, on one of these projects, when I'm working with the team, we make this joke once a week that like all of this stuff is like preview software because it's just changing so fast. I mean, you'll spend a week or two writing a bunch of code, using, let's say, one of the SDKs from Microsoft, one of their OpenAI SDKs. You'll take 2 weeks, you build your solution out, and then right before you deploy it, they'll announce that, hey, we're changing everything about how you do what you just built, So like I think everyone's figuring it out. I mean, it's definitely maturing.
Yeah.
Um, but I can't see it just like I can't see the pace of change slowing down anytime soon.
Hmm. And like if like you just mentioned, like if there's like an update on like ChatGPT or any of those like public LLM, I just try to figure out how does it then go onto the cloud and affect your cloud service. or your cloud like systems?
Mhm.
'Cause since it's only just like the AI that changed, is it like just the cloud all the same and then just the AI change at the bottom? Like, just explain.
There's like a bunch of different ways. So like
Okay.
I'll keep the scope to Microsoft because we're primarily an Azure shop, right? So let's say ChatGPT, they roll out a new set of models.
Mm-hmm.
Typically, the models are available
Mm-hmm.
same day in Azure because they have that agreement. So that could be one way that things change. But just because a new model rolls out doesn't mean that your code is just like instantly using it. So
Mm-hmm.
it'll roll out, then it's up to you to test it out, point your code at it, do your measurements, see if it is better, worse, or indifferent, and decide if you want to roll that out to production. And then there's also like the software layer, which is like all of these SDKs. That's what is changing really fast too, because now the big thing is agentic, right? So like how can you spin up a bunch of these agents that get them to talk to each other? Whereas 8 months ago, that didn't exist, you know? So you're constantly iterating, constantly, and not every change is a good change. Like you might not need to opt into a new change, you know? Like if you like Opus 4.5 from Cloud, just because ChatGPT rolls out a new model, you don't have to opt into it. You can
Yeah.
test it and evaluate if it solves your problem better, but it might not, you know?
Mhm. And I think you just mentioned like agentic. For myself, I think I heard about like RAG AI like 4 months ago, and I
Mhm.
think now you're actually just coming out with agentic that I think I just heard like last week, and I'm like,
Yeah.
what is this? So can you explain for like someone that doesn't like I kind of know AI, but I don't know
Mhm.
like agentic. Like I understand all the like the automatizations, like the NANet platform where you just connect like all your APIs to APIs. Like, what's the difference between like a workflow and like agentics? That was a big.
I like to say it's like how much you're like offloading to the little robots and letting them figure it out, right? So
Okay.
if you think about like architecting a system like a year ago, you might just have your workflow and you interface with the LLM. You
Yeah.
may give like a context window, but you're kind of just it's like one to one. Agentic now is you may have like an orchestration layer, and you'll have all of these little LLMs, each given a specific context, right? So, like, think
Yeah.
about if you're in a call center type of environment, you
Yeah.
might have one agent that it knows the customer information. You have another agent that, knows financial information. You have another agent that can go and look at your sales database and whatnot.
Okay.
And the agentic approach is like, let's have all of these agents work together with some sort of orchestration layer at the top so that when a question comes in, we can, activate the agent that's best for the job, right? It's all about these agents are as good, like there's a context window that
Hmm.
you don't want your context to be too big because then they start to hallucinate. It
Yeah.
becomes harder for them to get the right answer. So the idea is make a bunch of specific agents, orchestrate them, and then that will yield a better result for the answer or the prompt that came in.
I think I understand. I think I even did something like that, I guess, before the word was like proper. Because now
Yeah.
with AI, it's only like a word coming and it's just something, but it's kind of didn't change. And I think what I tried was like a master booking agent.
Mhm.
And
Mhm.
in that master, you would then talk to sub agents, so little
Yep.
employees. That one will be like, go get the calendar. Then the other one will be go get the booking. Then the other one will be, and then it's all separated between like 5 or 6 tasks. But
Right.
the master AI would go and ask them what he needs
Yep.
from like the
Exactly.
demand that comes in. So is that kind of like the same, just with now, I guess, a new name rebranding so that people.
Yeah. And one of the things it's funny, I've been in software now a little bit over a decade. Even though like all this AI stuff is hot, one, the fundamental math behind behind generative AI is very old, right? We just finally have the computer to do this. But even a lot of these concepts like agentic, if you go back 10 years, it's just microservice architecture. You know what I mean? Like, hey, make a very small specific service, make a bunch of those, orchestrate it. That way you're not, trying to manage this gigantic context.
Yeah.
So yeah, every couple of months we have a new
Yeah.
buzzword.
Mhm.
But and I say that to say because it could be daunting, right? Like if you're a junior engineer and you're like trying to catch up to all this stuff, seeing a new buzzword every couple of months is daunting, but
Is
it's really important to like ground yourself in the fact that like software is software. You kind of build it the same way, you know? We're just changing the speed at which we build it, but and the speed at which it executes. But it's all software at the end
yeah.
of the day.
It's all the same like layer at the bottom and then just new words coming in, coming out. And I think I
Yeah,
understand. I don't really know all the coding side of it because what I would use is no code platforms. And so
right.
it's just like you put your what's the word, like your big text that tells the AI what to do. I don't remember the name right quickly, but then my text would be like 3 pages, and then I would
Right.
try the AI and the AI like wouldn't work. So like you just said, like it just makes the AI actually work best at what it only needs to do, which is like
Right.
3 sentences or code in your whatever code way smaller, which is only
Yeah.
specific to that. And have you implemented some of those, or have you worked with some of those agentic or workflows that
Yeah,
are?
yeah, yeah. We're heavily involved in building, helping folks figure that out.
Hmm.
And yeah, like I said, it's to me it helps to just take the microservice based approach to this. It's
Yeah,
like, yeah, let's have specialized things that do their job well, and then have someone that whose job is to orchestrate all of that.
that's good. So coming back to your business a little bit, what's worked well in the last, I think you said year and a half? What was working well for the business?
I mean, we're delivering. And what worked really well is that we exceeded our revenue goals. That worked great.
Nice.
We praise
Congrats.
God that in the first full year of this, we can exceed and we can bring some people on to help out. So that's been great. I think in terms of the problems that we're solving, we're very excited about that. It's very like cutting edge, super fast. And if you're someone that's excited by that, I think the things that we're doing keep us all very engaged.
Hmm.
So yeah, that's working well. There's other things that I want to work better, more of like the
Always.
business stuff. But in terms of delivery, I'd say that's working really well. Like we're definitely putting out good, software.
Did you expect it to go that well in the first year? Because sometimes you hear people like business is like 2, 3 year thing, and then you have to struggle for those but this for you was like,
Um, Man, I have a lot of faith, like I stepped this out in faith, and like I said, my wife and I were in a lot of prayer before we did this. So I
yeah,
expected it to go pretty good. I will say, like we picked up an extra project that I wasn't expecting, like wasn't in my
oh,
plans.
yeah,
We're thankful for that, but I didn't go in expecting to fail.
no,
Yeah,
sure,
coming
sure,
from a couple of other like entrepreneurial endeavors, like that's a possibility. So
yeah,
I've been blessed to kind of see things fail before, and
yeah.
so you can kind of like guard against it a little bit.
Nice. And I think you already had demand from what you said from the beginning. You already saw
Mhm.
demand from it, and then
Yeah,
you just placed yourself as, well, instead of
right,
helping people with no money, I'll just offer a little service, a little money
right,
off of it.
right.
So what was the biggest challenge? Was this the business side, the challenge of like marketing, sales, all basically that kind
Yeah, I mean it's time, right? I was reading something, I can't remember what it was, but the premise of it was, when you're leading an early stage business,
yeah.
you as the founder are the ceiling of that business, right?
Mhm.
So this business we're going to sell as well as I can sell, right? We're going to market as well as I can market, Sure, we bring on people to delegate and to help us do this faster, but it's going in year two of doing this full time, so
Yeah.
you know, there's resource constraints and so on and so forth. So I think as we, start to think the next 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 years, it's going to be a lot of that. Like, let's start building business systems. Let's building things that scale, like let's really understand what is our sales cycle, right? Let's
Mhm.
really build a pipeline of leads. Let's really get
Yeah.
out there. Let's get to the conferences. Let's do these podcasts. Let's do all of the things that let people know that we're here and this is the
Mhm.
work that we do and we do it well and we've done it for some pretty high value customers and
Yeah.
and so that's the goal, like let's just get better at the business.
Yeah, I totally understand that. It's like I started like when business and fitness, and I was like, oh, I'll just say I'm a coach, and everyone's just gonna jump on me, right? And it's
All
like,
right, yeah.
no, it's like
Like
nope,
people
yeah,
have to know you're out there.
you have, and then you have to do all the marketing, all the videos, all the organic, all that. And it's like, oh my God, like you don't expect that. You're just like, well, I'm just gonna start this and it's gonna work. And then it's like, nope. Realization, it's like surprise, you have to think about everything else and then yourself. And then if you're stuck at sell or you're not good at it, then all your opportunities just get dumped in the trash when you get to it. So it's really like a big learning curve. It's a big not an ego killer, or just
Right.
like it puts you where you think you're here, and it's like no, no, no,
Yeah.
not there
Yeah.
yet.
You have to have a certain level of humility,
Oh,
right?
absolutely.
You're going to constantly be doing things that you're probably not good at. Like, for instance, 2026, right? We're in a couple weeks, we're going to shoot some content, right? If
Hmm.
you're starting a business now, you also have to kind of be a content creator.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So, like, if you're afraid of the camera,
Yeah.
you're gonna have to wrestle with that
Yeah.
because, like you said, people need to know you exist. So you got to
Yeah.
go where people are. You got to get it on LinkedIn at least,
Yeah.
YouTube, TikTok. You got to, So it's all these things you got to figure out. But it's the best stage for growth, right? It's the best
It's,
stage that can be set for personal growth. It forces you to do that really quickly.
you just talked about something that I'm really big about. It's like before the businesses, I did self growth for like 2 3 years. I was like, oh, I think I'm good. Like I'm super confident. Everything's gonna be good. And then starting my business, it's like, oh my God, like emotional growth. It's like you think you're good. Nah, you're gonna have to you're gonna have to still work on that. You're still gonna have to work on your patience, work on being suck at things, being bad at everything, and not just being like, I hate this. And it's like just have to grind and do it. So when I tell my friends, it's like business is a big self-growth path of like thinking about yourself and actually now being the guy that sucks and actually learn and being okay, being like, I'm not good at this. I need to actually pass it to someone else or get a growth of it.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, it requires a lot of long nights, a lot of like you always have this thought, like I have it once a week still, all right? It's like, am I crazy? Like, am I a person for doing this?
Yeah,
But I think you have to be like you have to, I call it crazy faith, right? You got to have like a little bit of crazy
yeah.
faith to embark on this journey.
Absolutely. So for 2026, I think you mentioned 2025, you achieve your goal and you even surpassed them. So 2026 or the next 6 to 12 months, what's the big goal for the business?
Next six, I mean, we're gonna get really good at marketing. We're gonna get really good at sales. I think we're really good at delivery. I think that's the process we have in terms of how we deliver results. I think that'll scale very well.
Hmm.
Now it's think back like we were just saying, how do we let more people know that we're here?
Yeah.
This is what we do. This is how we can help. And how can we really get good at identifying people that are at the beginning of this journey, right? How do we get in front of the CTO that just talked to his CEO that says, hey, we need AI. And he's looking at his team. He's like, yeah, how can we do this, right? I want to get in front of as many of those people as humanly possible, And so that's going to be our main focus this year. Is like I said, we're going to be doing some content. We already do blogs. Like we put out a lot of blogs. We're very big on like not hoarding information, right? Like if I have a rule of thumb that if like I had to like look this up and I didn't find it, I'm going to write a blog about it so that someone else hopefully doesn't have to go through that same experience.
And I feel like that in this industry, talking with a lot of CEOs, that's like a big thing for like when they get in front of their clients or their ICPs. It's like they don't know why they need me. They don't know why they need cybersecurity, MSP. It's just like for their clients, it's only throw out money when it's like
Right.
it's not, it's hard to see the ROI into it. And when you're able to come and explain it and then tell them and make them see it, then that's where the switch turns and it's like, oh, now I know, I understand why I need it. And it's even with other podcasts that I did, it's like everyone is in the tech business at some point. Even the plumber, even the
Mhm.
guy in construction, like all your bills are on your laptops. Like everything is on internet now. So it's like you need to take care of it and put your mind into it.
That used to be a really, when I was in college, we used to have a lot of these different companies come in and, they're trying to get early talent folks.
Mhm.
And it was funny because they were all saying the same thing, no matter what domain they came from. So like, we're not an insurance company, we're a tech company that does insurance. We're not a bank. we're a financial tech company, you know? And, at some point it's a little bit of branding, but it is true, right? Like you have to have a strong technology presence. I think if you don't, you're going to get left behind. Especially now, all right? Especially AI is such an accelerator that if you're like a mid-market insurance firm that's, probably gotten by having a 3, 4 person IT shop. If you don't start wrapping your mind around this, you're gonna get left behind. It's just gonna happen.
Hmm. So your marketing side, are you just gonna start trying to get it? You said talk about content and marketing. You're gonna try more organic and then blog, or is there you gonna try ads? Is there what's the plan for that?
Yeah, I mean, it's a good question. We're good. We're definitely, like I said, we're doing the blogs right now. It's about like getting them out on like a cadence, getting more members on the team to write them.
Yeah.
We're going to do some video content. It's not quite a podcast, I would say, but probably like 5 to 7 minutes of video content. It's going to be
Mhm.
called How I Wrapped My Mind Around That. And it's all about the idea of like a lot of times in this line of business, you get asked to do a thing kind of for the first time, and you've got to
Yeah.
go through the process of like that's what software. That's what I mean. That's what software architecture is like being a problem solver. You got to go and like sift through the information and wrap your mind around. That's we're gonna do that as a content series. In terms of ads, maybe. I mean, it's one of those things to your earlier question where like I have to figure out ads first. I can wrap my mind around that and then
Yeah.
probably, hire someone to help me. We'll probably do some of that. We'll do some outbound. I think outbound is in an interesting space right now where like
Yeah.
it's so much spam. Everyone's like AIing
Yeah.
spam emails all day that, we have like a decent outbound pipeline just running. And I think you run it just to run it because if you get a win from it, like even if you just get one win a year, it kind of pays for itself. So you'll
Yeah.
run it. But I think for us, it's going to be content. I think with all of the AI slop in the
Mhm.
air, I think it puts a premium on actual like humanity and actual like
Yeah.
taste, you know? So I think that's going to become what people want to see. They're not going to want to see the we can 3x your blah 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 in the email. Like, no, they want to see you communicating your ideas in a thoughtful manner. That's what's going to make someone want to work with you. That's the hope, at least. Check
Uh,
back in with me next year. We'll see if it works.
and nothing worked. No, especially everything work and you get what you want. I hope for you that the business is gonna get great and like everything you're planning for the goals for 2026 actually works. So before we close, Devante, is there a place that people can actually reach you and contact you if they want to interact with you?
Yeah, yeah. The best place is our website, www.pick2solutions.com. You can find us on LinkedIn, Pick2 Solutions. You can find me on LinkedIn. Um, Eventually, you'll find us on YouTube. Probably not by the time this comes out, but once we roll that content series out, we'll put that on YouTube. We may cut it into like a audio podcast. We'll see. But those are the places for now, for sure. Definitely website and LinkedIn.
Perfect, Devante. So thanks again. It was an amazing conversation and hope everything goes well for you.
Yes, sir. Thank you for having me, man. And congrats to you on your podcast. Congrats for launching it. It is definitely needed. We need more people having these discussions. I wish you as much growth as you want in 2026 and 2027 and 2028. So thanks for having me.
Thank you, man.